He sat close by a window, and his apathetic eyes rested now and again on the dreary scene without. The sky was overcast, and a grey drizzle was falling. It was flood time on the Yukon. The ice was gone, and the river was up in the town. Back and forth on the main street, in canoes and poling boats, passed the people that never rested. Often he saw these boats turn aside from the street and enter the flooded square that marked the barracks parade ground. Sometimes they disappeared beneath him, and he heard them jar against the house logs, and their occupants scramble in through the window. After that came the slush of water against men's legs as they waded across the lower room and mounted the stairs. Then they appeared in the doorway with doffed hats and dripping sea boots, and added themselves to the waiting crowd. And while they centered their looks on him, and in grim anticipation enjoyed the penalty he was to pay, Imber looked at them and mused on their ways, and on their law that never slept, but went on unceasing, in good times and bad, in flood and famine, through trouble and terror and death, and which would go on unceasing, it seemed to him, to the end of time. A man rapped sharply on a table, and the conversation droned away into silence. Imber looked at the man. He seemed one in authority, yet Imber divined the square-browed man who sat by a desk farther back to be the one chief over them all, and over the man who had rapped. Another man by the same table uprose and began to read aloud from many fine sheets of paper. At the top of each sheet he cleared his throat, at the bottom moistened his fingers. Imber did not understand his speech, but the others did, and he knew that it made them angry. Sometimes it made them very angry, and once a man cursed him in single syllables, stinging and tense, till a man at the table rapped him to silence. For an interminable period the man read. His monotonous sing-song utterance lured Imber to dreaming, and he was dreaming deeply when the man ceased. A voice spoke to him in his own whitefish tongue, and he roused up without surprise to look upon the face of his sister's son, a young man who had wandered away years agone to make his dwelling with the whites. "Thou dost not remember me," he said by way of greeting. "Nay," Imber answered, "thou art Haukan who went away. Thy mother be dead." "She was an old woman," said Haukan. But Imber did not hear, and Haukan, with hand upon his shoulder, roused him again. "I shall speak to thee what the man has spoken, which is the tale of the troubles thou hast done, and which thou hast told, O fool, to the Captain Alexander. And thou shalt understand and say if it be true talk, or talk not true. It is so commanded." Haukan had fallen among the mission folk and been taught by them to read and write. In his hands he held the many fine sheets from which the man had read aloud, and which had been taken down by a clerk when Imber first made confession, through the mouth of Jimmy, to Captain Alexander. Haukan began to read. Imber listened for a space, when a wonderment rose up in his face, and he broke in abruptly. "That be my talk, Haukan, yet from thy lips it comes when thy ears have not heard." Haukan smirked with self-appreciation. His hair was parted in the middle. "Nay, from the paper it comes, O Imber. Never have my ears heard. From the paper it comes, through my eyes into my head, and out of my mouth to thee. Thus it comes.